Hi everybody, it's Mr. Marcus. Welcome back. We're going to be doing a lesson on flat perspective now. This is going to be due on September 22nd. Of course, first we have to identify exactly what is perspective. Well, perspective is the art of using lines and linear representations to create the illusion of space near and far, distance, and three-dimensionality on a two-dimensional medium. Basically, we're trying to make a picture or a flat piece of paper look like a window. The ancient civilizations didn't understand the concept of perspective, and as such, they created works of art that were by default flat perspective. But what is flat perspective? Well, flat perspective is when you actually don't try to make any attempt at all to show perspective. All the shapes will be squares and rectangles, and all the angles will be right angled. Details are important when you're drawing a flat perspective drawing. When you're drawing a window, don't just draw the rectangular shape of a window. Instead, draw the window frames, draw the lines that go through the window, draw all the shading and shadows that you might see, and even draw some of the things that you might see inside the window, a person, possibly a couch, whatever you might see in there. You also need to focus on repetition. You need to repeat shapes over and over again. You need to line them up, and you need to make sure that they're in line and they repeat. Take a look at this gorgeous flat perspective drawing. Look at how the shapes repeat. All the rectangles of the window, they repeat. They're all in line. They're perfectly in order. Look at the lampposts, how they repeat at an even spacing each and every time. Don't be afraid to add little personal touches, like maybe you want to draw a robot that's walking through the streets or an old car that's sitting in the road.
And you'll just know the love we share forever and a day.
Bright, bold colors also enhance the repetition of form and shape.
I want this life to last forever. How can it be? Could this be real?
The absolute and only time that you're ever going to see an attempt at perspective in a flat perspective drawing is when you have overlapping perspective, where one shape covers another. That's the only way that you can get the impression of one thing being in front of the other. Size, shape, and placement are the only way to convey the concept of perspective in a flat perspective drawing. The things that are closer to you will be bigger and lower down on the page, and the things that are further away from you will be smaller, covered, and further back on the page. And once again, I stress, detail is key when you're designing a flat perspective drawing. You need to make sure that you draw a ton of small details, everything you can possibly imagine. Shading, shadows, things in the distance, anything that's coming up closer to you. It all depends on how much detail you put into it. Store signs, street signs, lampposts, everything that you can possibly imagine. When you're drawing a roof, you might want to draw the shingles that are on the roof. When you're drawing a window, you might want to draw the storm shutters on either side of the window. Some people have asked if you have to draw a lot of buildings. No, it's not necessary. You could draw 2, 3, 4 buildings and spend a lot of time on color and detailing and making sure that everything is just in the right place and exactly perfect. And for those of you that have chosen to not use colored pencils or crayons and want to use watercolors instead, with the pen and ink, of course, you can take a look, and this is what yours might look like. And you can see how the cute little details make the drawing. When you look here, you can see the clothesline stretching across the roof with the I Love New York towel and a pair of blue jeans. And you can see how repetition of shape and form literally make these drawings. Once again, bright colors and repetition of form and shape. Even when there's a rudimentary attempt at perspective, the perspective is just by placement on page. These are your keys to drawing a good flat perspective drawing. Number 1, draw only flat, square, and rectangular shapes. Number 2, repeat your shapes in a uniform fashion, evenly spaced out and as identical as you can possibly make them. Number 3, only show perspective through overlapping size and placement on paper. Number 4, only use right 90-degree angles. Number 5, sketch your drawings first in pencil. Number 6, go over it in your black drawing pen. Number 7, add shading and shadows. Number 8, be meticulous and add a ton of small details. Details are what make this project successful. Number 9, color your drawings in bright, vivid colors. Number 10, mix your colors. Number 11, take a picture and upload your finished picture to Microsoft Teams for a grade. Using your straight edge, you want to divide 3 lines horizontally across your paper, one being for the line that separates the buildings from the sidewalk, the top of the sidewalk, then the side of the walk, and then that will divide it from the street. Then you're going to need to establish a vanishing point for the lines on the sidewalk. This is the only place that you will be using any sort of perspective whatsoever. Radiating out from the center, you want to draw lines for the sidewalk. Once they hit the side of the sidewalk, however, they will go straight up and down. So they're going to radiate out and then they're going to go straight up and down. Remember, you're going to be using rectangles, squares, and 90-degree angles only, except on those lines that radiate down on the sidewalk. Make sure that you draw one line horizontally across the center of your page because you want to make sure that all your doors are exactly the same height. Your doors and windows should be roughly in the same place on each and every building. And of course, your windows should be evenly spaced out throughout the entire drawing. Take your pen and be prepared to start outlining all of the shapes. Be careful not to go past your guidelines. Then you're going to start using your pen for shading. There are 3 different techniques that you can use. You can use hatching, cross-hatching, and stippling. Your finished pen and ink outline should look something like this. And here, I colored it for you just so you can differentiate the shapes better. And here are your shading techniques in pen. You can see the first one is hatching and the rest are cross-hatching because the lines do cross. Please note that the closer the lines are together, the darker they look. And this is stippling. Stippling is shading with dots. And again, notice that the closer the dots are together, the darker it looks. And here's a whole host of different shading techniques that you can use with a pen. And your drawing might look like this as you start getting near the end and you start to begin to color. As you get near the end, you need to remember that the most important part of this particular project is paying attention to detail, minute, tiny detail. These are your keys to drawing a good flat perspective drawing. Number 1, draw only flat, square, and rectangular shapes. Number 2, repeat your shapes in a uniform fashion, evenly spaced out and as identical as you can possibly make them. Number 3, only show perspective through overlapping size and placement on paper. Number 4, only use right 90-degree angles. Number 5, sketch your drawings first in pencil. Number 6, go over it in your black drawing pen. Number 7, add shading and shadows. Number 8, be meticulous and add a ton of small details. Details are what make this project successful. Number 9, color your drawings in bright, vivid colors. Number 10, mix your colors. Number 11, take a picture and upload your finished picture to Microsoft Teams for a grade.